Hello YouTube, welcome back. In the previous video I discussed how the weapons worked in Death Shroud, and in the video before that I discussed how my equipment, runes, and amulet stuff is all set up. In this video I'm going to be discussing how the minions work. So I'm going to get started by starting out with the Bone Fiend. The Bone Fiend is a minion that deals damage and also automatically siphons, so you don't even have to have the siphoning traits like I do to have this one siphon for you. It's got a nice range, therefore this one is a ranged minion and not a melee one, so it helps to stand back, and it tends to be one of the last few surviving ones, even though it doesn't have the highest health among all of the minions. This one's ability is you can sacrifice it to gain health, and that healing is about 15% of your health, which isn't too great, but you shouldn't need massive amounts of healing if you can keep your siphoning up with your daggers and your minions continue to siphon to you. So the healing is just extra with this one, and with the trait that creates a cloud of poison when they die, when you sacrifice this one for a heal, like I said earlier, it's going to um, poison anyone around it. So if this one's dying and it's gonna die anyway, go ahead and use it as a heal. That way it explodes into a cloud of poison and you get a heal from it. And these have this Bone Fiend and the Bone Minions here have the smallest recharge rate out of all the minions, and the added 20% reduction in the recharge rate really makes these two minion skills come back really quickly and just keep the damage and keep the siphoning on. So next I'm going to talk about the Bone Minions. The Bone Minions, when you use this, you actually summon two Bone Minions, as you can see in the description. Each one deals very minimal damage, but every time they hit, they're going to siphon a little bit to you. So the more minions the better, and with the traits you also gain 20 toughness for each minion. So this trait really helps boost your toughness as well as help your siphoning. And with this one's ability, it's another sacrifice where you explode one of them, and it deals very large amounts of damage and has the nice round explosion radius of 240, and is a combo finisher blast, which will give you added damage and even more siphoning. And when you explode them, they will put up a cloud of poison like the rest of the minions, and so you're dealing large amounts of damage at once, along with a little damage over time from the poison, and it's going to cut their heals down. So if their health is below 50% or so, I would go ahead and recommend you explode these Bone Minions so that it deals massive amounts of damage and gets them below 25% of their health, and now they've got around a minute of poison on them, and it makes them really hard to recover from something like that, and you still have the rest of your minions for them to deal with. Next is the Bone Fiend, which is one of my favorite minions in this build, because it deals a nice round damage and it hits twice whenever it attacks, because it throws two of its spikes, as you can see in its picture here of the two spikes. It throws two spikes, each one dealing 572 with its initial hit, and each one, well both, they will cripple for 2 seconds and slow their movement speed by 50%, which helps to prevent kiting, like I've mentioned in the second video, with this power over here that also helps to cripple, along with your Locust Swarm cripple and your Flesh Golem cripple. You really negate their moving ability, and you can negate it farther with the Bone Fiend's ability, which it will immobilize a foe, and that immobilize plus the immobilize you can throw with the daggers that I told you to stack earlier will give you 5.5 seconds of immobilize, and when they're standing still, all of your minions can successfully pull off their moves and deal their damage and siphon and help you recover. And it also deals even more damage than its initial hit, so it's good to use at any time really, but sometimes people can just dodge roll out of the way. So when you throw your first immobilize, I would recommend the daggers immobilize first. That way they're already standing still and can't avoid this next immobilize to further keep them still. The next one is the Shadow Fiend, which does some decent damage, and it has no added effects with its initial hits. But the reason that I really love this minion is due to its Shadow Step ability here called Haunt. This one deals an initial damage of 525, which is decent damage, and it also blinds them. The blind is really helpful when you go for a stomp, because when you start that stomp, hit this ability, because it's going to take a second or so for it to actually Shadow Step, and when it does, it's going to blind them at the right moment, so that when they try and throw their stun at you to try and prevent you from pulling off the stomp, they're going to miss due to the blindness, and allowing you to pull off a successful stomp to kill them. And that gets you one step closer to victory, and you're now able to focus on other people and not have to focus on the downed players from preventing them from standing back up. It has a nice radius of 120, which means that when you use this, anyone nearby your target that you've hit this ability towards is going to blind everyone nearby, and this doesn't have a limit on how many it blinds in that area. So anyone nearby is going to receive this blindness to prevent some damage on you, or to help you stomp better if there's a lot more people around you, and it's very controlling if you're trying to even help others pull off a stomp. So when they go for one, and if you're not going to be able to pull it off with them, go ahead and hit your Haunt on the down target, and it will blind them, and you're aiding them in pulling off their goals. It also has a really large range of 1200, which is really long. So if they're about to die and they're a fair good distance from you, you can go ahead and hit Haunt, as long as they don't really run around the corner or anything a good distance, then you're going to hit them and might be able to pull off a successful down, and they'll be blinded. And if you get there and the blindness wears off, go ahead and throw your dual dagger blindness. This build works really well together because I tried to set up where the weapons do almost the same things as the minions themselves. They kind of imitate what the minions do, so that I can further stack the conditions if I need to, or if my minion skill is not recharged and I need it on them now, I can swap to the weapon and get it on them, and then by the time one of them recharges, the other can be used. So moving on to the elite skill minion, which is the Flesh Golem. This one is the most powerful of all of the minions, and deals a nice large damage of 770 each hit. Every time it hits, it's going to instill a 1 second cripple on them, which helps their overall mobility be put down so that your minions can stay around them and keep on their damage. But the real best thing about this minion is its charge ability, which is the golem will charge at its foe and knock them down, and it will also gain stability, so there is no way that an enemy can interrupt this skill at all. The only way they can avoid this charge is if they dodge roll out of the way, or if they can kill the minion before it gets to them, which is very hard to do unless its health is already really low. The damage on this is also really high, on 1400 damage. This damage was only meant to be applied once as the golem runs by and knocks them over. However, if an enemy is in kind of a corner and you can throw this minion's charge ability at them, it will trap them in the corner, and when they get knocked down, they're going to hit the wall, and when the minion hits the wall, his ability won't stop. He will just charge in place and deal that 1400 damage repeatedly. So that's an almost just a instant kill for a lot of things, and if they're at full health, it could take them all the way down to like half health with just that minion's ability if they're stuck in a corner like that, or you can knock them into the corner. The stability is really long, so even after it's done charging, it's still going to have that stability for a while. So that makes the flesh golem lethal all by itself, and with its range of 1200, it's gonna be really awesome, because if someone's far away and getting away and your immobilize becomes out of reach, then you can throw your minion to charge at them, knock them down, you'll get a few seconds closer to them, and then you can hit your immobilizes and then get up in their face again with your daggers or your scepter and war horns and whatnot. So that's what the minions all do, and they all work really well together. And so now I'm going to show you combat against these target golems down below. So I'm going to summon all my minions here and show you combat against this heavy golem. So watch what happens if you get two minions or people standing like this and you hit the charge. See how it charges and knocks them all down? It's also going to knock them back. So I'm going to end up showing you the daggers first. Just watch all this damage going to them. And see this target area? I can hit targets quite a distance away and keep all that bleeding on them at once on multiple targets, keep a constant weakness on them and a constant cripple. See how the bleeding stacks up and how my Feast of Corruption does more damage the more conditions are on them? This becomes really key, and as I swap my weapons I am gaining might to further increase my siphoning and my overall damage and condition damage. So my damage increases and my toughness and survivability is really high, making this build very deadly against any class, even other minion master builds such as this one. Just the overall survivability and damage of this build is really awesome. And so now for the final thing of this video, I'm going to show you how the poison works on these bone minions. So I will explode one, and so see, even when it's that far away, it's going to poison them, and it's even going to throw a weakness on them. See how long this poison's lasting? It's lasting 21 seconds, and see, it just keeps going up the more they stand into it. And if I sacrifice my heal one, it just keeps on stacking and keeps their healing down, and the poison just keeps going up, and now it's over half a minute of poison. Just the poison, all by itself, me not even attacking them, is going to kill them. And due to the 20% reduction of the recharge rate, I can just summon these right back and explode them once more because of their really low recharge rate. And then when they die, I get life force, and if that had been a player or a pet, I would have also gained a jagged horror to also deal damage and siphon health and take conditions away from me. So that's all for this video. In my next few videos, I'm going to be showing you combat against real players that will actually move and fight back. So thank you all for watching, have a great day, and see you in a bit.